when you start raising children, you don't have very much time for them to be influenced in the right way. I remember the time that I told Susie, she goes, well, your boys are home. Bob and I can come another time. And I'm like, oh, no, you're missing the point. We want the boys to be here when you come by. And she was like, okay, why? And I'm like, we want our children to spend time around you. You give back passionately, you make huge impacts on the people around you, whether it's emotional or energy or financial. They do it right.
I know Bob would tell you, and I certainly would agree, that Susie allows Bob to do all the great things that he does. He was, for instance, 2 years the chair of the board at Randolph, and so I knew him very closely then, for sure.
He loves introducing people to new things, and so does Susie, and loves to teach people.
When we were building the new upper school, which was really a project that Bob invested hundreds and hundreds of hours in, really poring over all the details and conversations with the architects and the contractors and school leaders. Bob was there every step of the way, and he's responsible for helping the school get built on time and under budget. At the end of the line, though, we had value engineered out the cupola that stands atop the Nichols Academic Building, and Bob loved that cupola, and he worked with the contractor to make sure that it got back into the drawings and back into the construction by the end of the project, and we all benefit from that.
I met Bob before I moved here. I was looking at BizTech and some of the companies there. The interviews were going okay, but they weren't closing the deal, and they sent in Bob. And Bob told me I should absolutely take this job. It was the right thing to do for him, meaning the BizTech, and for me. And I was just inspired by his passion and commitment, and I said yes. So he was the first person I really had a long conversation with here in Huntsville.
He's an entrepreneur, and his risk profile is a little different than the lawyers and the accountants. And sometimes he says, well, I hear what you're saying. I appreciate it. I'm writing a check tomorrow. We're steaming on, and and he knows what he's doing. I've
done my own startups, and I've worked with entrepreneurs for the last 25 years. So I know him when I see him, and Bob is an entrepreneur, meaning he thinks about what he's interested in, but when he decides he wants to do it, he gets passionate about it and committed to do it, and those are the fun people to work with.
I think that's when Bob realized that I was giving away a little bit of free service now and then, and so Bob's always one to tap into that. He would have a problem or an issue with one of these companies, and these early stage companies, and give me a call, take me to lunch. Sometimes a $7 lunch, sometimes a $10 lunch, and we would work on these problems together. And it sort of grew from there to the point now, I think, where just about everything that he's engaged in on these startup companies I'm involved with.
He was on the board of most of the companies, it seemed like, that I dealt with. When we looked for money for the companies, he was on the Huntsville Angel Network board, and that was just the business side.
They're tenacious, and they're unique, and they're amazing mentors.
A few years ago at our Society of 1895 dinner, which is our major donor event, we honored Susie and Bob as Doctors of Philanthropy. This is an award we don't give out every year. We presented them with white lab coats with the foundation monogram on it. And Bob went to the stage to thank everyone for this award. But he did much more than say thank you. The words he spoke that evening were so profound that people talked about it for months afterwards. And in fact, for the next year's society dinner, it was referenced again.
I really respect and admire Bob's candor. I really respect and admire his straight talk. In my estimation, from Bob's point of view, there's too much to do to be too polite.
He always jokes around because he calls and said, "Are you cringing yet?" But no, it's fun, and he brings. You don't want to do the same boring old thing every day. And one thing's for sure, when Bob calls, it's not going to be boring.
It's not like he volunteers for everything, but if something's got to get done and no one else is going to do it, Bob will do it.
Susie made a gift to the school to ensure that the cupola was lit at night. And so now it is a lit beacon of excellence for all of us, even through the night.
And the other thing is he's willing to roll up his sleeves, and he does. He puts a huge amount of energy into any of these projects. It's not just his check, because you can get that from different sources. It's his energy and experience. And he just keeps at it. He will grind at it, and I think what he does, he brings out the best in the people he works with. He certainly challenges me, that's for sure.
If Bob is retired, I don't have the energy to be retired, and I never will.
They're these amazing lifelong learners. I kind of want to grow up and be like that.
This, to me, is the essence of Susy and Bob Thurber and what they believe about giving and giving back. And Bob said, "The most important thing that Susy and I have learned about philanthropy is this: it is contagious, it is infectious. You don't learn it from lectures, you catch it from people. You know, you don't have to ask people to get infected, you just have to get up real close, breathe on them, and let them know that you are infected. That's all it takes. What we need in this town and for this hospital is a philanthropic epidemic."